Today, we've got a heavyweight in the dental technology world, the president and founder of Nova Computer Solutions, one of the top dental-focused IT and cybersecurity firms in the country. He's a long-standing member of the Dental Integrators Association. And if you talk to anyone in the dental industry about IT, his name's probably going to come up pretty quickly. Welcome back to the show. Today, we've got a heavyweight in the dental technology world. Dan De Steno is the president and founder of Nova Computer Solutions, one of the top dental-focused IT and cybersecurity firms in the country. He's been in the game for over 25 years. He's a long-standing member of the Dental Integrators Association. And if you talk to anyone in the dental industry about IT, Daniel's name's probably going to come up pretty quickly. Now, his team works exclusively with dental practices and DSOs, helping them eliminate downtime, tighten up cybersecurity, and build IT systems that actually support growth instead of slowing it down, which is always great. So if you've ever dealt with tech chaos, random outages, or a kind of constant fear of a cyber attack hitting your practice, this is the guy you want in your corner. Daniel, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
Of course. Well, let's jump right in. Why don't you tell me about the number one mistake that you think dentists make in their practice right now?
Chris, I would probably say the number one thing we hear, or the mistake that we hear the most, is, I'm just a small dental practice. Nothing's going to happen to me. And that mindset, and that could be from anything from compliance to cybersecurity to ensuring that your backup is running correctly. We hear that, unfortunately, more often than what we really should.
Yeah, I think that's a really important factor, especially when we're talking about HIPAA related stuff. And we'll get to that more in a second. But what specific cyber threats are hitting offices the most right now?
What I would say, and when we talk to practices, we're talking about the education of their team. Because it really doesn't matter what's attacking right now. If your team knows what to look for on the standard cybersecurity items, that's going to exponentially protect the practice and provide more cyber resilience to the practice. And if I can give a bit of an example from that, if your team knows what to look for, or even has some of the standard email tools that can verify that the Citibank email wire transfer that you just received was actually from Citibank and not from a Gmail address, if your team knows to do that and you've provided them the tools to be able to do that, they're that first line of defense of keeping all of those evil things coming into your office. So if I would say anything, absolutely, making sure that your team is educated, that is working on those computers on a daily and consistent basis so that they know what to look for and what not to click on.
Yeah, we had something similar like that actually here in our agency. And it's, there's so many different kinds of phishing scams. And, they started sending emails, for instance, from me to employees asking them to go get gift cards and stuff. It was kind of crazy, but, and we're a very small business. So, I think that these attackers are just kind of, they know they can make quick bucks, maybe even off smaller practices or smaller companies too. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The mindset that we're just a small practice, that means that you're an easy target in the reality of things, unless you're acting like you're a bigger practice, or not even acting like it. You're just putting the required items for HIPAA compliance in place. As murky that as the high-tech act or the omnibus law, and what's compliant, what's not compliant, it isn't really clear to the average dentist.
Right.
And besides that, then it's technology on top of that, which might be even more of a challenge. So making sure that you are complying and using some best practices, talking with a good IT company, MSP or an MSSP, uh, that can give you some good guidance, I think is really critical, regardless of the size of the practice.
Yeah. Do you feel as though that there's an increased, like for instance, dental practices or healthcare is being attacked more maybe than just regular small businesses, or is it just kind of equal share?
That's a great question. And I would say that dental practices, medical practices are a more prime target because
Hmm.
of the value of a complete medical and dental record. So if I can put
Yeah.
together Dan De Steno's dental record from his dentist, and then I was able to somehow exfiltrate Dan De Steno's medical record, now I have all this information. That is a much, much more valuable piece of data to sell on that black market because it's a complete record. Uh, it's it's probably been about a year. The last time that I saw the value of a complete medical and dental record on the dark web was somewhere between $650 and $750. So there is a
Each.
lot of each.
Wow.
Imagine a dental practice that has 4,000 patients. Imagine your big hospitals or even your smaller clinics that have thousands and thousands of patients. There's a lot of value in that data because it's not just your medical, it's your social security, it's your insurance information, it's your address. It very well may be credit card information or some other ACH information. So there's just a lot of value where you're not necessarily going to get that same information in your target account
Yeah.
or not to try and pick on target or anything, but just in something something more consumer.
Yeah, yeah. No, that totally makes sense because if you're going to order a pizza, you're going to have pretty limited information, but your healthcare records are going to be much more detailed. So it totally makes sense to me. Let's talk a little bit about HIPAA because we have to comply with HIPAA stuff too on the marketing side of things, just because any sort of information regarding patients really needs to be protected. But what what should practices actually be doing, would you suggest, for HIPAA compliance regarding just IT in general?
A lot of the low hanging fruit. So
Okay.
I I was on a discovery call this morning with a practice, an endodontist that doesn't send any patient health information in a secure and encrypted way. Their team doesn't have individual usernames and passwords on the computers. Still running Windows 10 computers without any sort of extended security update. Even though Windows 10 died here in October, and so those are the things that we're seeing that can get a practice into trouble very, very quickly. And at the end of the day, if OCR, the Office of Civil Rights, comes in and does an investigation, and it's all of this low hanging fruit, type of items, they're going to have findings. They're going to put you in some sort of a remediation plan and or fine the practice. Uh,
Yeah.
and what we see a lot of that from disgruntled employees or disgruntled patients that have a
Yeah.
little bit of awareness and going to that practice, that it's a small practice and their mindset is, oh, it's never going to happen to us. Well, there's two sides of that compliance. There's the evil on the other side, and then there's the legal requirement that you have because you have care, custody, and control of patient health information. So
Right.
there's two sides of that coin.
I've always heard, maybe you know this, I don't know, but I've always heard that if somebody files like even a question or a complaint with them, they have to investigate at least a preliminary investigation. Is that true? Have you heard that?
I I haven't heard
Mm.
specifically that, but I I did. I guess it's been about a year uh, that Health and Human Services and OCR announced that they are doing more and more investigations.
Yeah.
It's I think it's fair to say that during the years of COVID, our government gave out a lot of money to keep to keep
Yeah.
companies and businesses alive, and we only generate revenue through taxes and fines. And so I think
Hmm.
there's the other side of this is we need to start to generate some of that revenue that we gave away so many years ago to help sustain, to help us sustain our economy. I think it was probably a good thing. It certainly helped the economy, but uh, I do anticipate seeing more and more investigations and fines and penalties as time goes on, because the odds are that there are only going to be increased breaches and situations like this.
Yeah. In your experience, let's say you do get audited. I don't even know if audit's the right word, but maybe so. How can practices prepare for that? And, is there anything that, can be prepared for?
You know, uh, Practices really should just do their best. Even in a scenario where I mentioned just a few moments ago that Windows 10 had its end of life with Microsoft back in October, and so it is no longer a HIPAA compliant operating system unless you have the Microsoft extended security updates
Okay.
running on that computer. And so, in a scenario like that, where you have the ability to extend that life and to be compliant, and let's say you chose not to, that's a situation where uh, I think they're going to be less likely to just give you a slap on the wrist when you're knowingly not doing the things that you should be doing from this uh, and doing the best you can. You can't ignore these requirements and come out of this okay. But if you have a plan, let's say you have 25 Windows 10 computers, you can't replace those right now. But you have
Yeah.
a year-long plan where we've written out that we're going to replace
Yeah.
2 computers a month over the next 10 months or whatever it might be. That's good enough, because Health and Human Services doesn't expect you to have $30,000 to replace those 25 computers.
Yeah.
So as long as you're taking the right steps and trying to do the right thing, uh, I don't see the hammer coming down on anybody that's trying. We're all reasonable,
Yeah.
and there are so many practices that strive to be 100% compliant, but that sometimes and not in all situations can be achieved.
Yeah. I mean, what is 100% compliance? Do you feel as though there is some gray area and some things left for interpretation?
You know, I do. There's anything from the physical security compliance to the logical side, the cyber side. There are so many areas that if you're trying to do your best, I think that's enough. It's the folks that are saying, just go ahead and Gmail their X-rays,
Yeah.
their chart information. Those are the folks that that's who should be investigated and should be have put on a corrective action so that they're protecting their patient data, because that's what this is all about. It's not the practice, it's the patient data, which ultimately is the practice in a lot of situations. If there is a breach, you have all that patient attrition after a data breach, and is that practice sustainable? Because
Yeah.
you found out that your practice was breached, and the practice has to go onto a remediation plan and all the costs associated with that, especially if you don't have insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So this is a loaded question, so I know you probably can't get too detailed here, but what does a modern, properly set up dental network look like?
It's a great question, and I'm going to use a bit of an analogy for you. Think uh, uh, of cyber resilience as a big red or yellow Vidalia onion. You have that big onion in front of you on the cutting board, and you cut it in half, and you turn it and you look at it, the center of it, and you see ring after ring after ring all the way down into that center portion of the onion. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Think of cyber resilience as each one of those rings. So the outside ring, maybe that's your network security appliance. Then individual usernames and passwords is another ring. Employee cybersecurity training is another ring. An MDR solution, which is a managed detection and response software, is one. An XDR is another. All the way down into that center. So if you have an onion and that onion is your practice, and a threat actor comes and attacks it and whacks it with a knife, it may cut in a couple of layers, but it's not going to go all the way through because you have all different layers of resilience to protect your ultimately your data and your network.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Thank
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I just, you know, I just know how sometimes healthcare providers can be with marketing, and I just hope, that, you know, this IT and security threat is real, and there are ramifications to it. But beyond that, it's you've got to really be responsible with patient records and doing what's the right things. And I think if you're trying to plan for this, uh, like for instance, let's say you go from one practice to another. What are some of kind of the common pitfalls when people try to maybe expand too quickly?
Oh, wow. We can go at that from a number of different ways. I would probably say from any practice that is going from a single site to a multi, is that more the, is that,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, I think your processes are a number one. If you don't have a solid hold of your processes and how you engage a patient from them just coming to your website all the way through post care and re-engagement for whatever feedback solution or referral request you're asking of that patient, you don't have those processes in place, you're setting yourself up for a challenging you know, expansion from that standpoint. That would be
Yeah.
my first and foremost. Uh, then the second thing, from more of a technical side, is making sure that you have those standards. You've decided that your XYZ practice management software is going to scale with us as large as we plan on growing, and our imaging solution. And then talking about, will there be cross pollination of patients between these practices, and will we need to access the data at all of them, and what does that look like? Uh, and how large do you want to scale? And so working with individual, for computer practices or working with DSOs and multi-site practices, it's really there's different things that you need to look at different stages, certainly in that maturity, the operational maturity of the practice. Uh,
Yeah.
but certainly the processes and standardization, uh, I don't think you're going to be as successful as you can be without those.
Yeah, I agree. How often do you think practices should look at upgrading things like servers, computers, imaging equipment, things like that?
So that's an excellent question. A question that we get quite often, and uh, I would my recommendation is a computer should have a 3 to 5 year lifespan in a practice, and a server is different, but a computer, your biggest and most robust computer should be in your operatories. They're the
Hmm.
computers that we're asking to do voice activated charting, intraoral images, extraoral images, x-rays, chart notes, Florida probes. We have all these additional uh, ancillary or auxiliary items plugged into it. So they need to be the biggest and most robust. And we recommend those stay in an operatory for 3 years. From
Okay.
there, those transfer. Maybe you have an assistant that helps with treatment plans and is doing some imaging. Where maybe you need a good computer in your consultation room, your office manager. And so the computer moves from the operatory to another critical area to the last spot, in the office, like the team lounge where the schedule just sits up all day. And then
Yeah.
out the door at about that 5 year mark. Because we have to remember that our software is 5 years newer than the hardware that you're asking it to run on.
Exactly.
And so to make sure that we're utilizing the efficiencies that the software has improved with. You need to do that from a hardware standpoint as well. Servers, you should be able to get about 6 years out of a server without any real issue. But ensuring that you're planning for that and looking at the age of your computers on a consistent basis, and in planning your outages or your refresh as opposed to having an unplanned outage or refresh is always a better solution. So looking at being a bit more proactive with the age of your computers will save you problems and downtime and maybe even lost production down the road.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. We're going to wrap up here in a minute, but obviously all the buzz now is AI and how it's affecting, not just dental practices, but all businesses. How do you think AI and, cloud-based PMS systems, which aren't as new, but how do you think these things and these new technologies will change, practice tech over the next 5 years?
It's going to be really, I think it's going to be really incredible. AI isn't just out in Silicon Valley anymore. It's literally in your intraoral scanners now.
Hmm.
It's helping dentists detect caries, analyze X-rays or radiographs. Uh, they even watched a video of a solution that has predictive patient behavior and scheduling, where it's analyzing your schedule and where you have openings on a consistent basis and trying to move patients into those to fill that schedule. So I think we're just scratching the surface from that standpoint. Uh, and but I also think that dental practices are a little bit slower to adopt.
Yeah.
We do work with some medical practices, and the technology is a lot lighter, but they're not doing anywhere near as much as a dentist is. Whether
Right.
you're an endodontist and you have a microscope tied into it, or you're an oral surgeon and you have your vitals monitors tied into your practice management software, uh, there's a lot more that the dental side asks. And I think there's a slower adoption because there's so many variables where medical seems to move a little bit quicker, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that too. Okay. Well, are there any, I mean, in your side of it, are you consulting businesses or practices right now to do any specific upgrades for AI, or is it just kind of wait and see at this moment?
It's the what we're doing more on is probably more on the imaging side right now,
Okay.
where we want to implement an AI solution or some sort of a CAD CAM scanner, and the devices that we have don't have the 6 or 8 gig video cards that we need to render those images.
Hmm.
So that's probably where we're seeing more of the AI push from a dental side of the house, but I'm sure there's going to be more, from scheduling assistants, call takers to AI. Everything is coming,
Oh
but
yeah.
I do think it'll just be a little bit slower in the dental, which I think is
Yeah.
also a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. We've seen on the marketing side actually some AI solutions that are coming out and we've dabbled with them like, these voice AI agents and, all this stuff and some of them aren't working that great yet because I think, medical healthcare in general sometimes people want to talk to a live person. They don't necessarily want to talk with a bot about healthcare and, what they should do or what they shouldn't do. So, I think there, if you're ordering a pizza or something, who cares if it's AI? But healthcare related, there's people still want to talk to a human as well. So I think that'll be an important angle for a while.
It's the bot's not going to give you the sense of comfort or the sense of relief. Okay, I have the appointment, or the doctor's going to call it. The bot isn't going to give that human sense that you need when we're talking about healthcare and dental things, because these are very personal. They're, I don't know, your daughter's, you know, chipped her tooth, and you're so
Yeah.
concerned, you need that personal touch that they're going to get it taken care of, and I'll take
Yep.
care of it myself. It's important.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. Daniel, how could somebody listening that's like, oh gosh, this describes me as the person not doing anything about any of this? I bet you there's quite a few. How can they get a hold of you, maybe check you out more? I know you've got a website out there. What's the best way to reach out to you guys to maybe ask some questions and see if they might be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Our website is a number one, right on there. It's www.novacomputersolutions.com. I'm sure we have it here.
Yeah.
There we have humans there that are there to chat with you and grab some information, and then we would set up a discovery call and learn about the organization and the challenges that they're having.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Daniel, that was fantastic. Seriously, I mean, every practice needs to hear this stuff and actually take action on it. But technology is really the backbone of a modern dental practice, and the risks are only getting bigger when you start implementing some of this stuff. So, what you covered today, I think, is exactly what a lot of practices are missing. Because things will go wrong, and you always want to be protected, or as what you talked about, at least have a plan to be protected that you can show somebody in case they come knocking. So I appreciate your time today. I'd love to maybe, check back with you in a few months, and because this is going to be rapidly changing, maybe get some updates and just kind of see which way you think the industry is going, if that works for you.
That would be wonderful. I appreciate the opportunity, Chris. This was great. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Awesome. Well, for everyone listening, go and check out Nova Computer Solutions. If you want your IT to actually work, stay secure, and stop disrupting your day or maybe your sleepless nights, Daniel and his team are the real deal for sure. So thanks again for joining us today, Daniel. And to everyone tuning in, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Dental Marketing Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.kickstartdental.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you are ready to grow your practice, then you might want to schedule a free strategy session with us. Just go to kickstartdental.com and click the free strategy session button and give us 15 minutes of your time to change your practice forever. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Podcast by Kickstart Dental Marketing, where dentists go to win online.